So today, with today being Pentecost, I took Ben's advice from last week and to focus on studying Torah. So that's when I've been able to do that. That's what I've been doing today. So I have two insights I want to share today. Okay. So I think the first one I'm going to share is based off of the fifth commandment. Okay. So part of the fifth commandment is to keep in. Sorry, let me say this a better way. Part of the fifth commandment, honor thy father and thy mother, is to stay in contact with your parents, okay? This is where prayer comes into play. Because prayer is a commandment where we're supposed to talk to our Father. Now, the fifth commandment ultimately has to do with Yahweh, okay? But the way, in his wisdom, decided to teach us about our earthly parents, okay? Our father and our mother. But it openly points to him as I'm bringing out prayer. This is where prayer fits in. We're supposed to pray to the Father continually, just as we're supposed to, part of honoring our father and mother is to stay in contact with them, okay?
Do you mind if I share something in support of that?
Yeah, go ahead. I love it when you do that, Ben.
Well, we're going to go to Alma chapter 34.
All right. So let's pause 1 second so I can get it in the preferred edition. All right, so I got up Alma, like he was saying.
Yeah, so we're going to be in Alma chapter 34, verse 17. Starting in verse 17. I'm going to kind of go through this, and I find it easier actually to find my talking points when I read it.
Okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to do.
For some reason, when other people are reading it, my focus wanes a little bit.
Okay, well, you read then.
Okay, so therefore may God grant unto you, my brethren, that ye may begin to exercise your faith unto repentance, that ye begin to call upon his holy name, that he would have mercy upon you. Okay, so this is what calling upon his holy name is all about. It's all about applying for mercy. First off, that's just a freebie before we go into what we're supposed to pray over. Yea, cry unto him for mercy, for he is mighty to save. Yea, humble yourselves and continue after calling upon the name of the Lord. Continue in prayer unto him. Cry
So
unto him.
I would wonder if that is leading to having a prayer always in your heart, right?
Well, that is the culminating. That's what this whole thing culminates in.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
yea, cry unto him for mercy. Continue in prayer unto him. Cry unto him when ye are in your fields, yea, over all your flocks. Cry unto him in your houses.
So I just wonder if it's okay. I'll interrupt a little bit. Yeah, crying to him in your fields, the surface level of that is going to be your work, right?
Yes.
Your occupation, motherhood, fatherhood, making money. And over your flocks, that's going to be the people that you are teaching and helping bring to Yahweh, right?
Exactly. That's just on cry unto him over these things. Cry unto him in your houses, yea, over all your household, both morning, midday, and evening.
Okay, so I'm gonna enter again.
And I'm okay with that.
Oh, well, go
I
ahead,
know
finish your thought, and then I'll interrupt.
I kind of think I know where you're going with this, but
Oh, well, finish your thought, and then I'll interrupt. Okay.
well, okay. So here Alma tells us that there's actually supposed to be 3 times a day where we take a break to pray.
Yeah, that's one of them I was gonna do.
Yeah.
So on the first sentence though, houses for one that's multiple things there. For the top level, surface level, it is going to be your own household, right? That you're part of as a father, mother, or a child. But then also Yahweh's people is the household of Yahweh, and I can bring that out from a JST if you guys want to. But yes, the other thing is morning, midday, and evening. That is your between the mornings prayer, high noon, and between the evening prayers, which FYI, my app will give that to you if you have an Android. Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't have an Apple because I don't have an Apple device to build it from. So, anyways.
so yeah. So this is actually, yeah. So that's where that part there was. And thanks for bringing up the part about houses, because after all, it's throughout the Doctrine and Covenants that the Lord refers to the early church as his house.
Yeah, yeah. The house is it is an allusion to his believers, which we're supposed
Yep.
to pray for, right? But
Yes, exactly.
the surface level is your own house, your own little house that you live in. But a deeper level is, oh, silly Kindle, is the believers in Yahweh, right?
Yep, exactly. Yea, cry unto him against the power of your enemies. Now, obviously, this has also has surface and deeper levels. When we're talking about the power of your enemies, are obviously the people who seek for your personal destruction, but they're also the enemy. Also, we're speaking of the enemy of your soul,
Which is Satan and
which is
his
Satan.
dominion, or his
Right.
minions, as in current culture. But anyways,
And
uh,
oftentimes the two levels of enemies overlap.
yes, they do, because the surface ones are actually being manipulated by the deeper ones, right?
Yep. Yea, cry on and yea, cry unto him against the devil, who is an enemy to righteousness. So there we go into that more specifically. Cry unto him over the crops of your fields, that ye may prosper in them. Oh, surface and deeper levels here.
Yeah.
Crops of your fields. This is your harvest. This is your fruits. This is that. It's so obviously it's that which sustains you, your work. Cry over your life's work. But at the same time, the crops of your fields are also those with whom you work in the gospel.
Right. The field is white, all ready to harvest.
The field is white, all ready to harvest. Cry over the flocks of your fields, that they may increase.
So one thing I do want to say, um, I was lucky on my mission. I found a sickle for a dime. Oh, actually, here, let me pause for a minute.
Yep.
Okay, I'm having a hard time finding it, and I don't want to take too much time. But
Mhm.
I will do one quick picture though.
Yep.
It's that. I normally have it next to my bed, but I mean I'm in a lot of flux right now, so I'm not sure where it is. But there's my sickle.
Yep.
Now, I would say, so there's a difference between a sickle and a sigh, okay? If I could, how do you spell sigh?
SCYTHE.
The size is much larger.
So a sigh is more for numbers, okay?
Yep.
A sickle is quality. You're doing it yourself personally, one on one. A scythe
Now
is
the
about
interesting
numbers.
the scythe and the sickle both have meanings on both sides of the spiritual spectrum.
Right. And I'm just focusing on one part, but
Yeah.
it's about one on one. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's a sickle to cry on over the flocks of your fields and crops of your fields. Very important. And we want them to increase.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry about the
Pray
interruption.
for the pray for
It would have been cooler if I knew where it was.
pray for understanding in the law, then pray for the opportunity to spread that understanding.
Yeah.
And then when the opportunity arises, take advantage of it. But this is not all. You must pour out your souls in your closets, or your saunas, and your secret places, and in your wilderness.
You mean I shouldn't pray to be seen of men?
But this isn't just this wilderness has deeper levels. It's the journey of your life. Throughout your life, you are to pray to your Father in heaven. You must pour
Well,
out your souls in your closets and in your secret places, those places where you let nobody into. You're supposed to let God into.
right. In the wilderness, just for those, especially since we're in the Book of Mormon right now, right? Nephi left his comfy situation, very comfy situation, actually, to go
Mhm.
into the wilderness to seek after Yahweh and his ways, right?
Yep. Yea, and when you do not cry unto the Lord, let your hearts be full, drawn out in prayer unto him continually for your welfare, and also for the welfare of those who are around.
Yeah. Including your enemies, right? But, yeah.
And now behold, my beloved brethren, I say unto you, do not suppose that this is all. For after you have done all these things, if you turn away the needy, if you don't become the answer to your prayers, if you turn away the needy and the naked, and visit not the sick and the afflicted, and impart of your substance, if ye have, to those who stand in need, I say unto you, if ye do not any of these things, behold, your prayer is in vain.
Yeah.
And availeth you nothing.
So if you're not and just a summary, if you're not taking care of the poor and you're stockpiling your money to get more rich, and you wonder why your prayers are not being answered, here's why, right there. Because you're
Yep.
stockpiling your money and bragging about it and not taking care of the poor.
And ye are as hypocrites who do deny the faith.
Oh, yeah, and that's a pretty direct statement there, right? Denying the faith.
So our prayers are our prayers, the prayer of faith is given with the understanding that we are to act upon it. Because otherwise it is not a prayer of faith.
Right. You know, one statement I do like from the church that I grew up in is that you should pray if everything depends upon Yahweh, and then do everything that depend as if it depends upon you. I do think that's a nice statement, right? Because there's a place for both, right?
Yeah. And so while we were talking about prayer, it just occurred to me that we need that this is how we need to think of prayer. It's
Yeah.
we let God into the very secret parts of our lives, the ones that we dare not tell anybody about.
Right. And I forget which verse, but there was you closet in your secret places, right? Right there.
Yep.
But yeah,
We have
if you don't trust God to talk to him about everything, how's he going to help you and save you? Right?
if Kelsey hadn't let God into her secret place, would she have gotten the revelation that she got?
Yeah, exactly. Um,
And so these we have to realize God actually wants to be involved in our lives. He is our father. He wants to be involved in our lives. But
and, and he wants intimate prayers, not just rote, vain prayers that you just keep saying over and over again, right?
where you say all the pleasant sanitary things that you think he wants to hear.
Right. He wants you to be real with him. Okay. If you're having a bad day, he wants to hear it. He can handle it. Trust me.
He's had worse days than any of us can even fathom.
Right. And he wants to succor us. Okay.
Like the day that he had to destroy almost all life on Earth.
No. He wants to succor us, but if we don't open up to him, he can't succor us. Okay.
Yeah, that's
We have
right.
to open up to him.
Like
And
the day,
it doesn't
like
have to
the
be a lot
day.
of words. It could just be just a few words. In fact,
One of the most profound answers to prayers that I received was mostly thoughts. My prayer was comprised of mostly thoughts, but just two words. It was God help.
uh, as long as it's with a sincere heart and broken,
Yep.
I mean, a broken heart and sincere.
Contrite spirit.
I
Broken
messed
heart,
that up.
contrite spirit.
Sorry, but anyways, it's the intention that matters. Because I'm
And it is one of the most profound answers to prayer, one of the most profoundly comforting experiences that I've ever had in my life. Simple word, God help.
yeah. So let me pause for a minute. So it is in supportive. It doesn't have to be a fancy prayer. Here is a verse in 3 Nephi 19, and it's verse 24, talking about the prayer of the disciples, apostles to Elohim, and they did not pray many words. It was a simple prayer. Okay.
For it was given unto them what they should pray.
And that's another point. Also, listen to the Spirit as you're praying. And also, just on that point, we are to pray for the promises that are within the Word.
Yeah.
Yeshua is not a magic genie that you can just rub whatever way to get whatever you want.
Right.
He has told us what he'll give us, and he does expect us to ask for them, so that way when we do get it, we know it's from him. And there is a verse for that. I don't remember where it is off the top of my head. I can try to find it. Give me a minute. But if you think he's someone that you can just pray and ask for whatever you want and get it, you
And
don't understand Yahweh.
that's the interesting thing. So when I did my simple prayer, God help, what I was given was understanding. And understanding is oftentimes what we need more than necessarily what we want.
Right. And one thing we need to keep in mind, especially with some problems that are going on today, including a famous LDS artist, we are only to pray to Yahweh in the name of Yeshua or Jesus, whatever one you feel more comfortable with. But I bring that up. I'm full of sidetracks, right? But this is part of the culture today. Okay, so this is an important point. Oh, it's right there. But here, Lindsay Sterling is a deceiver. Okay, but in her, I think it's this one. Yeah, because it's got the people. She's talking about how she came up with the concept and the theory and even the um kind of was the director for her music video. But in there, she does talk about how she's praying to angels in it, which is actually playing to demons. And oh yeah, so right here, here's the quote. Here's the link at 8 minutes and 2 seconds. I'm Lindsay, always asking my angels and my heavenly Father for strength. Okay, so she right there is admitting she's praying to angels, which is actually really praying to demons, and she's practicing necromancy.
Necromancy.
Necromancy. which is commanded against in the law. And we're only supposed to pray to the Father in the name of Yeshua, not angels.
That's right.
Now, when we pray to Heavenly Father, he may send an angel to talk to us, but we're not specifically asking angels things, okay, in prayer. We're asking the Father, and he can send messengers to answer.
Right. Yes, that's a very important thing, is that we are only to pray to our Father. We're only to pray to our Father, not to pray to
Not
we're
the
not to pray to
angels.
the host of heaven.
Right, but and I mean, if you're doing that, and I actually believe she knows what she's doing. She knows these angels are the angels of Satan. She knows that, in my honest opinion.
Yep.
In fact, she knows it so much that she puts ISIS in her music video, right? There's ISIS from the typical Egyptian statue, and there's ISIS in her cave. In the
Yep.
cave, that's not by accident, but anyways, I'm not impressed with her.
All the signs, all the signs, all the symbols. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'm going, look, she's got a mark on her forehead. Anyways, and she's got snow white hair, leprosy white hair. But anyways,
Yeah,
and
leprous
it's
ones.
twisted. Sorry, I'm gonna. I'll be quiet on that now. uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Let's not sidetrack too far on that.
yeah, not too. Oh, in
We were
fact,
talking about prayer.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so back. I think that's probably good on prayer, right?
Yeah.
So let me, or there we go. Okay. So the other thing I saw here. So within these 5 right here, if you push 3 out, right, to the right, and you push 1 and 5 to the left, you have a chiasm. I am
Oh yeah.
I am Yahweh your Elohim. Honor me, right?
Yep.
Keep the Sabbath holy. Do not bow to a graven image. Those go together. Part of not bowing to a graven image is keeping his Sabbath. Show, because part of the Sabbath is to show that he is your God and
Yep.
he's above everything else in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do not take Yahweh's name in vain. And there's a big problem of that today. Well, there has been through the all history of world, but it's getting we're getting in the days of Noah, right? So it's
Yep.
getting worse than it has been recently. And there's a lot of pretenders out there claiming revelations that are not from him. But this is A, this is A. These two go together. 1 and 5 go together. 4 and 2 go together. And then 3 is the apex.
Yeah, it's interesting that the ones related to God form a natural chiasm, but the ones related to man, not really.
I actually think they do. You don't
Mm,
murder. So part of the reason people murder is because they covet what the other person has in their
that's
life.
true. The murder and get gain. Murder and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
gain. Murder and get gain. Yep. That okay.
Do not bear false witness. Do not commit adultery. The worst place you
Oh,
can
oh
bear
wow.
false witness is adultery. And then don't steal from your neighbor. As in their property. God gives people property, right? It's in the law. So I personally I see the chiasm here also.
Life, liberty, and property.
Yeah.
The rights the rights that are inalienable to man. Life, liberty, property.
Yeah. Do not covet. Covet goes along with do not murder. Most of the reason the the most common reason for people to murder is for they're coveting something the other person has, right? Um,
The most common reason why any of these sins happen is because of covetousness.
yeah, that's true. That is true, including adultery. But I am trying to stay with more with the chiasm. But
You're right.
anyway,
sorry.
but you're actually correct. But just an interesting point. Thou do not covet, or thou shalt not covet, right? That is the one commandment that an earthly judge cannot do a judgment on, right?
Yep.
Because we as men don't know other people's hearts, and we need evidence as judges to judge against them, right? So,
Only God can judge the covenant.
yeah, well, exactly. Well, only God can judge the heart. Okay. But anyways, do not murder, don't covet goes together. Do not bear false witness, and do not commit adultery. And that's the worst place to bear a false witness, that you're gonna love her, your spouse, and stay worthy, or where she's your only partner now and not go after anybody else, right? That's the worst place to
Well, the
bear.
thing is adultery. The connection I immediately saw was that adultery immediately renders your marriage vow a false witness.
Yeah, yeah. And then do not steal, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times with adultery, you're going after someone else's wife, and that's actually stealing. A lot of things, if we would just not steal, we'll get rid of a lot of sins, actually. But a lot of that is caused by coveting, as been brought out, right? But anyways.
Yep. But so yeah, so that's a thing. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing as you're looking at the laws to see the chiastic structure even of the law.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see, these 10 commandments are the mind and will of Yahweh.
Yes, they are. They teach us how to be like
When
him.
you see that they're set up in chiastic order, you realize that the mind and will of Yahweh is a chiasm.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. While I was doing Ben's suggestions, I got those two things today.
Yeah,
Prayer and the chiasms.
yeah, and that's it's there were some things that I got uh, as I was reading to Johnny the law or the relation of 19 and 20 of Exodus.
Okay, so let me get there. Exodus 19.
We show the whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Or do you want it in the JST or just the King James?
Let's go JST.
Okay, so yeah.
Even though I was reading it to Johnny out of the King James, just because
Yeah, it's more convenient. I understand
it
that.
was on my phone. It was on my phone, and we were burning bread.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's fine. I still do most of my reading out of King James, but I do refer to the JST. So Exodus 19.
19.
Okay.
Um, the interesting thing is something that I brought out to Johnny here is in verse 5 is the phrasing of covenant between verses 5 and 6, 19 verses 5 and 6 between Yahweh and his people. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, which is commandments,
So
covenants.
and it even, and Ben just said this, but I'm gonna say it a little stronger. Covenant is another word for Torah. Okay.
Yep. Then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. How many of us would love to be a peculiar treasure unto Yahweh? How many of us
I
would
do.
love to? How many of us would love to feel that we were a peculiar? And the thing is that you can experience that, and the gateway and the door to that is Yeshua and baptism to
Yeah.
becoming a peculiar treasure, and then obeying His voice and keeping the covenant, keeping Torah. For all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation.
So
These are the
I want to interject a little bit. If
Mhm.
you priests are teachers, right?
Yep,
If you're not keeping it, how can you teach it?
that's right. Well, you can teach in hypocrisy, which is what the LDS church does.
Well, actually, that's what most of all churches do.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah,
yes.
Most human life.
yeah. And then of course these are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
And then I
All
think
the thing is that all of that is available to us Ye shall be a peculiar, ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, uh, holy nation, kingdom of priests. All we have to do is say and do all that the Lord hath spoken. We will do in verse 8.
Now, let's see if to go along with kind of what was just there. I have a post on Priestcraft, but the reason I'm just bringing this up, it is related. There is one in later Mosiah, and I think it's in here, that you should not pick teachers who are not keeping the law, right? But it
Yes.
so I think it's in here because it also relates it to priestcraft that they shouldn't get paid, and so that's why it's in here.
Priest and the priests were not to depend upon the people for their labor they were to receive the grace of God, that they might watch strong in the spirit, having the knowledge of God, that they might teach with power from God. There's that.
uh, t- uh, okay, so I'm not seeing it, so it just must be in the same chapter. So I'm sure it's Mosiah 27. So we'll pause for a minute, we'll find it. But this is a good post, but I'm biased. And in fact, if anything, I'm just listing scriptures.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's go find So I found the one I'm looking for. As you can see, it's a unfinished chiasm. I guess I started and got distracted. I never get distracted. But anyways, but this is the verse or passage I'm looking for. Zach, you want to read it? Okay. Kesley, you want to read it?
Sure. We're here in Mosiah 23.
23, 13
Okay.
through 18.
All right. And now, as ye have been delivered by the power of Elohim out of these bonds, yea, even out of the hands of King Noah and his people, and also from the bonds of iniquity, even so I desire that ye should stand fast in this liberty wherewith ye have been made free, and that ye trust no man to be a king over you, and also trust no one to be your teacher nor your minister, except he be a man of Elohim, walking in his pathways and keeping his commandments, law,
Okay,
and
so
Torah.
this is the part I wanted to focus on right there. And we can finish in a minute again, but
Okay.
I'll just read it again. And also trust no one to be your teacher or minister, except they be a man of Elohim. Meaning, I mean, to be a man of Elohim, you need to go after his righteousness and not your own righteousness, right?
Mhm.
And Yahweh's ways don't change, but walking in his ways and keeping his Torah. Okay. And that's a big thing. If you're listening to a teacher that is teaching you something other than that because they think they know better,
Or if you're
God is
listening, or if you're listening to somebody who seems to talk a good line but doesn't walk that line,
run away. Okay. They're a deceiver. Or they don't know what they're talking about. Or they're a hypocrite, right?
yeah,
Because if they're preaching one thing and not strike now, I need to be careful with this because we all falter as men, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
I do. But the question is, what are they ultimately trying to do? Are they repenting and trying to keep the way, or are they walking, or are they just talking a good talk and then just constantly going against it in their walk, right?
Does your teacher accept correction in good faith?
Yeah, that's a very good point. In fact, here let's I'm going to sidetrack us some more because that's a very big deal. Okay, because there's a lot of people that think the leaders are above the law. That's bullshit. Okay.
Whoa, that's
Yeah, I did that one strong on purpose. Okay.
no. I'm just playing. I know. I
Yeah.
know. I know you stand on it.
But so look, here's D&C 107. Ben, you want to read it?
Sure. And the presidency of the council of the high priesthood shall have power to call other high priests, even 12, to assist as counselors. And thus the presidency of the high priesthood and its counselors shall have the power to decide upon testimony according to the laws of the church.
Okay, okay. So like testimony, like people actually, like this is talking about a court.
This is talking about court proceedings, and it's supposed to be public.
Yeah. In fact, along those lines, I'm horrible with sidetracks, but at the second coming in the great and dreadful day, the judgments are going to happen at the gate where everybody can see it. That's how church government judgment should be. They should not be closed and make you sign waivers that you won't release it and all this other garbage. Church courts are supposed to be public, just like the great and dreadful day is at the gate where it's public. And when you go learn Hebrew culture, the gate is a public location. Okay. And
Mhm.
everybody is to see the judgments and the outcomes. Okay.
And in some cases, they are to participate in the verdict.
Yes. And they definitely they are to give testimony if they know anything about it, right?
Yes.
Anyways.
And after this decision, it shall be had in remembrance no more before the Lord. For this is the highest council of the church of God and the final decision upon controversies in spiritual matters. For there is not any person belonging to the church who is exempt from this council of the church.
And that is, I think, is why that's there personally, is to bring out that even the leadership is not exempt from
And
being judged.
inasmuch as a president of the high priesthood shall transgress,
Oh, look
he
at that. There's just saying what I just said, right? I'm not making this stuff up.
he shall be had in remembrance before the common council of the church,
Common, not private.
who shall be assisted by 12 counselors of the high priesthood. And their decision upon his head shall be an end of the controversy concerning him. What if the church had actually operated according to its rules?
It'd be a lot different than it is now. In fact, on that point, I know I'm full of sidetracks, but just to bring out the point that Ben is stating, scriptures are the law. D&C 42:59. Thou shalt take the things which thou hast received, meaning from Yahweh, which have been given unto thee in my scriptures for a law, and to be a law unto
To be my law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. To be my law to govern the church. Okay.
Yep.
And then D&C 58:23. Behold, the laws which ye have received from Yahweh are the
From
laws.
my hand.
Yeah.
From my hand.
Not lawyers. Not lawyers. But from Yahweh are the laws of the church. And in
But-
this light, hey, that's a reference to Torah.
But this
You
is
shall-
even the stronger reference to Torah, received from my hand, what was written by the hand of God on the tablets of stone.
Right. And look on that point. Look, those two statements are both A's to support what Ben is saying there. Okay. Behold, here is wisdom. It is wisdom
And I
to
would
follow
say that,
Yahweh.
and I will simply say that the opposite, to do the opposite, to say that which God wrote with the finger of his hand was done away with Jesus on the cross. Behold, here is foolishness.
Yes, it is. It's crazy that Satan tried to deceive people for 4,000 years to break the law, and now Satan's trying to deceive people to keep the law. Come on, grow up. Not to mention in the book of Revelations, it states that Satan is going after those who have a testimony of Yeshua and who keep the
who
law.
keep the commandments. Behold, here is wisdom. Let us be wise.
So God's church is being governed by what God has revealed, not what lawyers say to protect you legally. Okay.
Right.
All right. Were we on 84, I think?
Yep. And thus none. Capitalize none.
Yeah, actually, a very good point.
Thus none shall be exempted from the justice and the laws of God, that all things may be done in order and in solemnity before him, according to truth and righteousness. If the church had abided by this principle, Joseph Smith would not have had to throw Brigham Young out.
Yeah, I agree. So Dean C 102. You want to read that, Kessler?
That whenever any vacancy shall occur by the death, removal from office or transgression, or removal
Oh,
from the
wait, removal from office for what?
transgression.
That's sinning, breaking the law, right?
Mhm. Or removal from the bounds of this church government or any one of the above named counselors, it shall be filled by the nomination of the president or presidents and sanctioned by the voice of a general council of high priests, convened for that purpose to act in the name of the church.
Now, here is wisdom. Now, I just want to say, I want to thank Matt publicly for helping me find those verses. Okay. Because he did,
Yep.
Matt was a keen helping me find them. Because I knew they were there, but I'm not a DNC expert, and Matt helped me. But anyways,
Yeah,
they are from Yahweh.
Matt's pretty strong on the Doctrine and Covenants sections that deal with how the church gets run.
That's
Cool.
That's good. I'm not strong in the DNC, even though I believe it. I focus more Book of Mormon and Torah, but it's good to have people who focus on other areas to come together and strengthen each other, right? Anyways.
Yeah. And then I'm just an all-rounder.
Yeah. Ben is very good with his overall knowledge. So
I'm an all-arounder. That's all I am. I'm
yeah,
a
you
jack
want to
of all
stand
trades.
up and show how round you are? Sorry.
Okay, there we go. There, all around.
Anyway, no, I mean, I'm giving him a hard time, but he has some very good round overall knowledge of the scriptures, which is very good. Okay. So, although I tease him at times, as you just saw.
But it's all in fun until somebody gets poked, until somebody starts bleeding, right?
Well, everything is spiritual and physical.
Oh.
Anyways, continue to tease.
Yeah, I also tend to refer to myself as a jack of all trades, master of none.
I'm not the best at overall knowledge of the scriptures. I'm working on it. I have other strengths. So
well, yeah, there's people
we
who
all have
have
our different
mastery.
strengths, and we all have
There's
to help
people
the
who have
body of the church.
mastery, and there's people who have mastery, and I'm not one of them.
Well, and that's fine. We all have different strengths to help out the body of the church, right?
Yep.
So that's good.
But I am uniquely suited to the I think I'm uniquely suited to what the Lord has told me that I'm supposed to blog about as I get started. So because of my all-rounder aspect.
Well, yeah. And I have enjoyed our friendship very much so. So
Yeah.
not just because of that, but just I enjoy our friendship.
I always enjoy gathering together with people of like mind and getting a good laugh, even if it's at my own expense.
Well, we goof off when we're not recording too on
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm trying to remember what that came from.
Okay, we were talking about we were in 102, Doctrine and Covenants, section 102, verse 8. You were talking about how you had Matt to thank for those two.
All right, no, but before that,
Before that, we were talking about Priestcraft, and we were in Mosiah 23.
oh yeah, Mosiah. Okay.
Mosiah
So
23.
that was teachers.
Yes, how they're supposed to be men of Yahweh. They are held to the
Right. And we went into church government to kind of give some support for that, right?
Yep.
So I think Kesley just read that. And we might as well finish the rest, even though it's an unfinished chiasm. I got sidetracked. I never get sidetracked.
No, not at all.
Never. But anyways, I think you're on 15, Kesley.
Okay. Thus did Alma teach his people that every man should love his neighbor as himself, that there should be no contention among them. And now Alma was their high priest, he being the founder of their church, and it came to pass that none received authority to preach or to teach, except it were by him from Elohim. Therefore he consecrated all their priests and all their teachers, and none were consecrated except they were just men.
Can I
Therefore-
stop you there? Can I stop you there?
Mm-hmm.
Just men. Every time you see the word just men, you need to think justified.
Right. They're seeking to keep the law.
They are they have been justified by the Spirit.
Right. And
Their
and I
sins
would
have
even
been
go a
forgiven.
little more than that, is that they're going in accordance to law to their best of ability.
Yeah.
And when they make mistake, they admit it, which is part of repentance, and correct the problem, right?
And when they learn when they learn that something that they were doing was in error, they confess and they forsake.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they could, and if you
Because
go
not
look
all
at,
of us know all the law.
right,
Yeah.
we grew up in some false traditions, and so we have some unlearning to do, and learning of truth, and that takes some time, but Yahweh will still use us, right? But part of that is admitting when you're wrong and correcting the problem.
Yeah. So when it says just men, you need to think in the principle of mercy about the principles of mercy about justification.
Right. Well, what makes us just is the law.
Principles of justice, they're trying to keep the law.
Exactly.
So mercy and justice both play in on this. Both are both necessary to make just men.
Now, I do want to say something on the part where they still fail at times. Satan will try to take advantage of that, and he'll try to tell you a truth that you now can't do it on your own. You know what? Tell Satan he's right. You're right. I can't do it on my own because I have sinned, but that's why I have the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And Messiah takes care of that.
The Messiah takes away my past sin.
Right. And so Satan's actually telling the truth, but he's trying to use it against you instead of telling the whole picture.
He's
That
trying to get you to use your past as a crutch.
Right. And it's ironic on that point. Satan will tell you that, it's no big deal, but it's the same ones that say it's not a big deal with Satan and even his other followers that then use it against you after you do it, right? Where Yeshua will tell you you're forgiven, sin no more, and come unto me, right? I paid the price. I, as in Yeshua, paid the price so that you can become free.
I think it's important that we remember that this was a sidetrack from the idea from Exodus 19 that
Oh yeah, okay.
a nation of priests.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back to shall we
finish this up?
Finish this and then we can go back to Exodus 19. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we just had the last two sentences. Therefore they did watch over their people and did nourish them with things pertaining to righteousness, the law, Torah.
Okay, so let's go back to Exodus 19. See, we're doing our own chiasms live, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, all right. That's not Exodus. Sorry.
No.
Okay, so let's I think we still want you wanted the JST, so I was at the right screen share, it just said the wrong book. So 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. There we are. There we go.
Okay, now let's go down towards the back end of chapter 19. This is another thing that was
So you
brought
want me to go up
forward.
some more, or is that good?
That's you can't go any further on 19.
Why not? Do you want to go up more, or is this good?
Let me check here. Is go back up to 20, I think. Yeah, we're talking about the boundary. I want to get into where it's talking about the boundaries here. Okay. Actually, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause for a minute.
Okay, no, I've got it. Verse 11. We'll start in verse 11 here. Be ready against the third day, for the third day the Lord will come down on the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. Thou shalt set.
I just want to say, third, the number 3 has very much to do with redemption. Okay. Look,
Absolutely.
he's coming down the third day, just like in the second coming, he's coming down after the third day. Okay.
Well, and I think
Or
another important thing with regards to third and redemption is what did he come down with?
Well, I'm not sure what you're trying to lead into.
He came down and gave them the law. He is the redemption. The law is what we're rewarded based upon.
Right.
So
Because he sees our broken heart and our contrite spirit and sees that we want to be like him, and then here he is teaching us how to do that, right?
Yep, exactly. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount.
So on here, a lot of this is going off of, and we'll probably see more in a minute, but I'll just bring this out a little bit. DNC 76 talks about, the 3 glories. And
Yes.
if one glory tries to get in the area of another glory, they can't handle it. Just like an unrepentant person will burn to death if they came into the presence of Yahweh. They can't handle it physically. And that border is there for protection, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is set up to protect the people, and this is going to be made much more clear further down. Moses went down from the mount unto the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. This is not talking about break out your washboards and soap, ladies.
This is baptism right there.
No.
And,
This
sorry.
is baptism.
And garments have a lot to do with the covenant, right?
Yes.
Because we are supposed to take upon his garment, which is clean, and here they are. They're using the same basic imagery of a clean garment.
Where is it in the Book of Mormon that it talks about garments washed in the blood of the Lamb? Is that Jacob?
Let's go find out. I'll do a pause. So we found the verse that Ben wants using a program that I am working on giving to people. In fact, actually, I'll put a link in the notes because the one link I do want to make better. But anyways, I am actually in the process of trying to make this mass give to people, but I may just put it on my website temporarily and then do the mass one later. But
Yeah.
so we did find it, and so it's a nice little query language, kind of like Excel is what I patterned it off of. But anyways,
Yeah.
I did this
So
because the console one was not very user friendly. This one's much more user friendly.
Okay, and a lot of these, there's actually several verses here which refer to what I was looking for, and this most particularly Alma 5, Alma 13, and Alma 24.
Do you want to get them in
and
more context, or is this good enough to read them?
I think this is good enough for the print to when we connect the idea of the washing of clothes
Okay.
to the sanctification of baptism and the baptism of fire.
Okay.
Okay, so Alma 5:21. Do you want to
Yeah, I'll
Zach?
read it. Oh, Zach.
All right.
Okay.
Zach, are you there?
I'm here.
You want to read Alma 5:21, please?
I say to you, ye will know at that day that ye cannot be saved, for there can no man be saved except his garments are washed white. Yea, his garments must be purified until they are cleansed from all stain, through the blood of him of whom has been spoken by our fathers, who should come to redeem his people from their sins.
Now,
Oh, yeah.
I
I like
do wanna
that
say-
emphasis on from. I like the emphasis on from.
well, one thing I just before going to the next one, in Exodus 19, just a little before the baptism, Moses sprinkled them with blood.
Yes.
And so this right here is literally very much so for those who have the ears to hear and eyes to see, is pointing back to Exodus 19. Okay.
Yes, I say unto you, and this is the thing that, and it's very clearly connects the idea of the washing of clothes to the to justification and sanctification, baptism of water, fire, and spirit.
Right. And the last verse in Alma 5 does teach that members should be rebaptized, and then it invites non-members to be baptized for the first time, right?
Yes.
As in just
There,
do the support of the baptism theme here.
so this sanctification is required to receive the holy order of the priesthood. Therefore, they were called after this holy order and were sanctified, and their garments are washed white through the blood of the Lamb.
Yeah, for Melchizedek.
Yes.
This one's in Alma 13 is a big Melchizedek one, but this is the sanctification is regarding the
Melchizedek
priesthood.
priesthood. Yeah.
Melchizedek, not the Aaronic. Okay.
Yes. Alma 24:13. Behold, I say unto you, nay. Okay, Kelsey, you want to read 24:13? Sorry.
Mhm.
I keep wanting to read all of my own. I keep wanting to read all of these verses. I love reading the scriptures. In case you couldn't tell.
That's a good thing.
Behold, I say unto you, nay, let us retain our swords. Sorry, this is small. Our swords, that they be not stained with the blood of our brethren. For perhaps if we should stain our swords again, they can no more be washed bright through the blood of the Son of our great God, which shall be shed for the atonement of our sins.
So here it's swords and not clothes, but the idea is the same.
Yeah, it's the same basic idea, right?
Mhm.
I
And-
think part of the reason they're using swords here is because they use their swords to kill a lot of people, right?
Yeah, and they are deeply remorseful for those sins.
Yes.
Stephen, do you want to read through Nephi 27:19?
Yeah. And no unclean thing can enter into his kingdom. Therefore, nothing entereth into his rest, save
Pause. Pause. All right. For all people who are interested in entering into the rest of the Lord, prick up your ears and pay attention. Go on.
save it be those who have washed their garments in my blood. So this is Yeshua's blood, right?
Mhm.
Because of their faith and repentance of all their sins and their faithfulness unto the end. So here's the same illusion that's going on in Exodus 19 about baptism and on the washing, right?
Yep. And also repentance of all their sins, which the Lord is about to reveal to them what their sins are.
So just so people can see, I have this little thing under the edit menu, copy all those scriptures. I'm gonna go put those in my OneNote. But anyways, this was good.
Under washed in the blood.
Yeah, I'm gonna go put it under my baptism stuff. But anyways,
Yeah. All righty. So there we go. So that's something about that particular section that I wanted to bring.
Well, actually, I'm putting under my Exodus 19 that's in my baptism because those are good verses that actually does support that, as I brought out before. But anyways,
yeah. So let's go back to Exodus 19.
oh, did you do you want to do the Ether 13?
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Let's do
Oh, okay.
Fine.
I'll read it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also cometh Jerusalem of old, and the inhabitants thereof. Blessed are they, for they have been washed in the blood of the Lamb. And they are also those scattered and gathered in from the four corners of the earth, from the north countries, and also partakers of the fulfilling of the covenant which Elohim hath made with their father Abraham.
Okay, so in context, Ether 13 is the second coming prophecy in the book of Ether.
Yeah. This is talking about the second coming, and specifically, it's talking about the Jews right here, right?
It's talking about Israel.
Yeah.
And who is Israel? Those who've been washed in the blood of the Lamb and become the descendants of Abraham through the baptism of water, fire, and spirit, because as Joseph Smith said, the baptism of spirit has a physiological effect upon us, making us literally sons and daughters of Abraham.
Exactly, because Abraham is a pattern to follow after Yahweh, and sons and daughters is an idiom for followers. So once we've sanctified, we are full followers of Yahweh.
Yes,
because that is having the law written upon our hearts.
and the changes that occur in us are both physical and spiritual,
Yes.
as all things are both physical and spiritual.
Yeah. In fact, I know I was goofing off about that earlier. Oh, yeah, I did the wrong. I know I was goofing off with that earlier, but that is scriptural, right?
Yes.
Oh.
First Nephi 15.
Okay. You want the 15 or 14?
Is that 14?
Well,
okay, let's take a look at
I
14.
mean, there's some in both, but anyways.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at both of them.
Okay, so this is First Nephi 14:7. For the time cometh, say the Lamb of Elohim, Elohim, that I will work a great and marvelous work. So this is talking about second coming and the mighty and strong one. Okay,
Yes.
among the children of men, a work which shall be everlasting, either on one hand or on the other, either to the convincing of them unto peace and life eternal, or deliverance of them from the hardness of their hearts and the blindness of their minds unto being brought down into captivity. So either it's going to be so obvious you're going to accept it, or you're going to completely be damned into destruction, both temporal and spiritual, according to the captivity of the devil which I have spoken.
Yes. That's a clear reference there to the consequences of our choices regarding Torah, and which is the fullness of the gospel, by the way. And so that's a good verse. Let's go into First Nephi 15 real quick to talk about how all things are both physical and spiritual. For the versification on that.
And it came to pass that I said unto them that it was a representation of things both temporal and spiritual. For the day should come that they must be judged of their works, yea, even the works which were done by the temporal body in the days of their probation, so their mortality. But the big key here is both temporal and spiritual, right?
Yep. All things. And so when we're reading our script, it also and this is actually a hint as to how we should read our scriptures. There are levels. There's the surface level, which is lovely and wonderful and often very informative for those who haven't even pondered the surface level. The surface level is wonderful, but there are levels underneath that which make the surface level even more wonderful.
Yes, because the deeper levels support the more surface levels, right?
Yes.
So-
So, a great quote about parties.
So I'll
Yeah.
read it.
Okay.
So this is from my Bishops are Judges of Israel post, but you might be thinking I'm taking that statement too literally. I would have to disagree, as I do agree, and that's a big issue because a lot of people will argue, well, you're just taking the scriptures too literally, and I just, you know what, Yeshua was a literalist and a legalist when it came to the scriptures. Okay, I'm fine with it. Go ahead, call me that. I'm in good company. Okay, you might be thinking I'm taking that statement too literally. I would have to disagree, as I do agree there is much symbolism in it. I have to say it is to be read literal also. One thing we learn about studying about padres is, and then I give some references, rules of padres. Padres, a Jewish
Exegesis.
exegesis, and beholding the tree of life, a rabbinic approach to the Book of Mormon, is that the deeper levels of meaning or symbolism or symbolic and understanding do not contradict. And that's the key part here. The deeper do not contradict or negate the more surface levels or literal of the understanding. They support
So
each
when somebody shows you a scripture and says that they're applying parties to and they show you a doctrine that is directly contradictory to what's in the scriptures, you can use this quote to realize that they are
They're
full of shit.
doctrines of demons.
They're full of shit.
Yep. That's putting it bluntly. Yes, yes. They are, though, literally. I just and I just said a different way. They're teaching, they're pushing teachings of demons.
Yeah.
Which demons are full of shit, so I'll say it too.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's something that's very important to understand. Now we're going back to Exodus 19.
okay.
I didn't really, yeah, it's amazing, and I'm just riffing this off the cuff, guys, with the help of Stephen's tools here. So yeah,
Sure,
it
sure.
helps.
Sure. I'm glad to be helpful.
Yeah, and so and Moses, okay, so, and they washed their clothes. He said on the people, "Be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives." Why would that be? Why would that be? Why would that be an injunction for preparing to see the face?
So I'm not completely sure, but I do know the Levitical priests have things when they're doing the ceremonies in the temple that they couldn't be intimate with their wife. And
Right.
that's
That's
what referring to.
that's something that's a question that I have, and it's something that bears study. But I think that it's
And so I want to make it clear here, being intimate with your wife is not a sinful thing.
No.
It's an actually very holy thing, but there's the fluids that go along with it, does have some symbolism to it, and I think it has to do with the symbolism. And he wants a kingdom of priests, okay? And so I
Yeah.
think that's somewhat what it's referring to, but I'm not 100% sure here, okay?
Yeah, I'll do some study on that. I'm not quite sure about that one, but we're going to go ahead anyway. We're going to go ahead here. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mountain, the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. I would presume at the border of the place that had been demarcated.
Yeah, I think that's kind of obvious, but it's good to bring it out just in case.
Yeah.
Right?
And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke. Smoke is judgment.
Yeah. Smoke and clouds and mist have to do with judgment, right?
Yes, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, another judgment symbol.
Right. Which baptism of fire happens because Yahweh have
Has
judged
judged
you
you,
and found you with a broken heart and contrite spirit.
and now and he has advocated your case before the Father,
Yes.
and and
So-
therefore you receive the baptism of fire.
Which that is a good judgment to have, right? Not all judgments are bad. This is that is a good judgment.
Yeah. And in fact, I would argue that his presence on Mount Sinai is a good judgment on the whole.
Yes. Yeah.
And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded, long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. I think that's a really important thing. God answered him by a voice. He answered him by ruach, breath, wind, the voice.
Right. And I would also say in this case, there is the literal that Moses did hear Yahweh's voice, but there is the symbolic of what Ben is bringing out.
And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. The Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up. So now we're seeing that not all are excluded from that not all are excluded from the presence of the Lord.
Right.
The Lord said,
Moses has been sanctified, right? He's keeping the law
Moses,
and
yeah.
he's teaching other people. And that's why he can go up the mountains, be with Yahweh
Right.
in his presence. Because if you're not keeping the law and you try to go in his presence, you will be burned.
You
And
will
so
be
this is
destroyed.
showing that Moses is keeping the law.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. Okay, there it is, made clear. The Lord doesn't want us to perish because we don't understand. Because we don't understand where we can and can't, what we can and cannot take.
Right. Here Yahweh's telling Moses to be a teacher and a leader right there, right?
Mhm. Yes, and this also goes against the idea that is taught by some that the Lord wants to have just like an open gate into his presence. Everybody's supposed to. I mean, we're all supposed to go there, but we have.
Let me maybe say it a slightly different way. Yahweh
Yes,
doesn't
please.
want all of us to be in his presence, but sadly, he knows that most of us do not want to put forth the effort to do what is necessary to do that.
To enter into his
because of
rest.
that, he has teachers and leaders to help people learn of his ways and to do his ways, so that way, hopefully, the few who will listen to his voice will get sanctified to come to him. Now,
Right.
the problem is not that he does not want everybody. He wants everybody. The problem is
And he knows that
our
not
cold
everybody.
and wicked hearts that we listen to,
Mhm.
Yes.
that we love our sins more than Yahweh. That is the problem.
And here we go. And here's the second group of people. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord,
So
not
this
those
is
who are,
near. This is past that boundary, right?
yep,
So this is a
sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them.
right. So in here, I'm just going to bring out here. We've had three categories shown here now, right? Up to the border, up to the mountain, up the mountain with Moses, and then the priests who went past the border. That's D&C 76.
Yep.
Okay. It's this is a key for a lot of places. D&C
Mhm.
76. It may not list every instance. And I didn't in my one recording of it because it would even taken longer than it did. But once you get the key, you can start seeing it other places. Okay.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. Once you understand it, you see it everywhere. And so you have here you have Moses who went up into the presence of the Lord. You have the priests who came near to the Lord, and you have the general assembly who came near to the mountain.
Right. And so just like back to the tabernacle, where this is somewhat pattern after, is it was the priests that could go in the holy, right? The
The holy
congregation
place.
could, well, it was the high priest to go to the holy of holies. The priests could go
Well, I
in,
said the holy place. I said the holy place. The priests
oh
could
yeah,
go into
oh
the
okay,
holy place.
yeah. So I mean, I guess I didn't get the whole name, but anyways, and that's showing that categorization is going on here also. Okay.
Yep. And Moses said unto the Lord, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, set bounds about the mount to sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, away, get thee down, and thou
So
shalt come up.
bounds have to do with boundaries and walls and
Mhm.
law, Torah.
Mhm. So what sets the bounds for how far we can ascend the mountain is how much of Torah are you willing to keep?
Yeah. And I think that's a good way of putting it. It's how much you're willing to keep, right? Not
Yep.
how much you're capable to keep it. It's how much you're willing to keep. Because it is a choice that we make.
Yep. And I will point out, and I will simply say that any person with even average intelligence can keep all of Torah.
Yeah. In fact, if you believe David, it's not hard, right?
Right.
He puts that in the Psalms quite a bit, but anyways.
Yeah.
And the Lord said unto him, away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. So Moses went down to the people and spake unto them. And then the Lord speaks to the people from the mountain, giving them the law, telling them how it is that they may arise and ascend up the mountain themselves.
Which is the 10 sayings or the 10 commandments,
The
depending on
10,
how you prefer
yeah,
to say
which
it.
are the 10 commandments, which are expositions on the 2 commandments.
Right. And everything else is commentary on the 10, explaining how to keep the 10. It's pretty simple.
So guys, the only higher law there is a higher willingness to be obedient to God's law.
But on that, let's let's go see what the laws are.
Can I add something real quick, Stephen?
Go ahead.
Which we already have.
We already have God's.
So here that's I guess it's long, but here's the celestial law. Hey Matt, you want to read the celestial law?
Yeah, 50 through 70.
Sure, let's do it. And again, we bear record, for we saw and heard, and this is the testimony of the gospel of Christ, the Messiah, concerning them who shall come forth in the resurrection of the just. They
Which
are
is
they
the first resurrection, right?
correct.
The first fruits, Christ's.
Yeah.
Yes. They are they who received the testimony of Yeshua and believed on his name or character and were baptized after the manner of his burial.
Now, I want to interject. The only one that's required to be baptized is Celestial.
Yeah. Being buried in the water in his name, and this according to the commandment or Torah, which he has given.
And look, we just showed how Torah, Exodus 19, shows baptism, right?
But wait, he's already given it too. Wait, we already have it? What? That by keeping the commandments, Torah, they might be washed and cleansed from all their sins and receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit, sanctification by the laying or doing on of the hands / works of him who is ordained and sealed unto this power, and who overcome by faith and are sealed by the Holy Spirit of promise, which the Father sheds forth upon all those who are just and true.
And again, so what we're looking at is justification and sanctification. Just is the justification, true is the sanctification.
Yeah.
They are they who are the first, or who are the church of the firstborn.
Now, this is interesting. I want to bring this out. So, in the Brighamite tradition, they'll say, in the celestial kingdom, you're with the Father. Now, I agree with that. But look, what member of what church are you to get there? Of the firstborn. This is actually teaching modalism here. Because the Father is the Son, and the Son is the Father, right? Mosiah 15.
Yes. They are they into whose hands the Father has given all things. They are they who are priests and kings who have
So real quick,
received.
all things is actually does point to Torah. Okay.
Yes. They are they who are priests and kings who have received of his fullness and of his glory, and are priests of the Most High after the order of Melchizedek, which was after the order of Enoch, which was after the order of the only begotten Son. Wherefore, as it is written, they are gods, judges, even the sons, followers of Elohim, or God. Wherefore all things are theirs, whether life or death, or things present, or things to come, all are theirs, and they are Christ's, Mashiach's. And Christ, Mashiach, is God's, Elohim's, and they shall overcome all things. Wherefore, let no man glory in man, but rather let him glory in Elohim.
They shall overcome all things. What this means is that they shall be faithful in keeping Torah no matter what happens.
AKA endure to the end. Right.
Yep.
All right. Who shall subdue all enemies under his feet? And this is, yes, let him glory in God, who shall subdue all of his enemies under his feet. These shall dwell in the presence of God, Elohim, and his Messiah, Mashiach, forever and ever. These are they whom he shall bring with him, when he shall come in the clouds, judgment of heaven, to reign on the earth over his people.
So that's an allusion to the first resurrection, right?
But
Yes.
of course, he will also come in the clouds, because when planets come close to each other, cloud cover is created.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is
Polar
also alluding to
configuration.
the polar configuration, right?
It's almost like it's a protection that each planet.
You're a directional mic.
All right, whatever. My point is, it is a protection that each planet has.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what's going on physically. All right. Anyway, these are they who shall have part in the first resurrection. These are they who shall come forth in the resurrection of the just. These are they who are come unto Mount Zion and unto the city of the living God, Elohim, the heavenly place, the holiest of all. These are they who have come to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of Enoch and of the firstborn. These are they whose names are written in heaven, where God, Elohim, and Mashiach are the judge of all. These are they who are just men made perfect through Yeshua, the mediator of the new or renewed covenant, who wrought out this perfect atonement through the shedding of his own blood or life. These are they whose bodies are celestial, whose glory is that of the sun, even the glory of Elohim, the highest of all, whose glory, the son of the firmament, is written of as being typical.
So there's a lot of description here, but within here it shows what the law of the celestial is. Baptism of the Holy Spirit, aka sanctification, aka keeping the law, aka having it written on your heart. That is the law of the celestial glory. Okay.
Yep.
And a lot of descriptions there. So let's go look at the terrestrial. Zach, are you willing to read the law of the terrestrial?
Sure. And again, we saw the terrestrial world. And behold, and lo, these are they, or of the terrestrial, whose glory differs from that of the church of the firstborn.
Yeah,
Or
look at
receive-
this. So I just want to bring this out. So in the Brighamite tradition, and this is the world or kingdom or whatever that Jesus is at over, right? But here it says they're not of the church of the firstborn. So it really, their general assumptions don't make sense, right? But anyways, sorry.
who have received the fullness of the Father, even as that of the moon differs from the sun in the firmament. Behold, these are they who died without law, and also they who are the spirits of men kept in prison, whom the Son visited, and preached the gospel unto them.
So
that they
real
may be
quick, sorry, I'm going to pause you a little bit. I didn't put it down here, but the part up here I have, without law, it's not within the law, and we can get that from 1828 dictionary, where not with, absent, beyond, omission, independent of, outside of, not within, or out of. And I mean, we can go look at the whole definition. And I'm bringing that out because in today's language, we don't really think of it that way. But when you actually go look in the 1828 dictionary, it does bring that out. Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry about that. I forgot to put that glyph there. So you're right here.
kept in prison, whom the Son visited, and preached the gospel unto them, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, who received not the testimony of Yeshua in the flesh, but afterwards received it. These are they who are honorable men of the earth, who are blinded by the craftiness of men. These are they who receive of his glory, but not of his fullness. These are they who receive the presence of the Son, but not the fullness of the Father. Wherefore they are bodies terrestrial, and not bodies celestial, and differ in glory as the moon differs from the sun. They are they who are not valiant in the testimony of Yeshua, wherefore they obtain not the crown over the kingdom of our Elohim. And now this the end of the vision which we saw of the terrestrial, that Yahweh commanded us to write while we were yet in the spirit.
So in summary, the law of the terrestrial glory is those who believed in Yeshua, but weren't diligent in keeping the law, and thus they did not get a testimony of him in their mortal life, but they do after the resurrection.
Well,
Right.
I think this is interesting. So you might as well just say these are those who believed in Yeshua but thought the law was nailed to the cross.
No, I would actually say that's telestial people.
Okay.
Terrestrial, I do think they do strive to keep the law, but here they get some blinded. And also they're sometimes they get distracted with worldly things instead of heavenly things. It is
Yeah.
the telestial ones that are saying it was nailed to the cross.
Yeah. Okay.
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 Because they're that's kind
In fact, are you
it's
willing to
kind
read
of a
the
statement of
telestial
denial.
one, Ben?
Yeah. Sure. Let's go with that.
Could I add something
Yeah,
real
yeah,
quick?
go ahead, Matt.
It's kind of that idea of it's nailed to the cross. It's kind of a denial of it.
Yeah, I can see
We're
that.
right. And
Yeah, I can see that.
the terrestrial's not denying it. They're just either distracted, too busy, or they're listening to the lies of the false preachers.
Right.
They're listening. Well, and this is the thing, though, that you have to bear in mind is that those who listen to a telestial preacher will receive a telestial reward.
Yeah, yeah. And so I would, well, the telestial ones are actually denying the law. The terrestrial ones they're not denying it, but they don't have it quite figured out.
They're not according it much importance.
Right. And they might be some deceitful, but anyways.
Yeah. And again, we saw the glory of the telestial, which glory is that of the lesser, even the glory of the star, even as the glory of the
Now,
stars.
I do want to, I wonder, this brings out another thing. So Noah's
Well,
Ark.
this actually points me back to the Sermon on the Mount, where anyone who teaches to
Against the
disobey the law, teaches against the law, is the least of the kingdom of heaven.
Right. The least and the lesser goes together. And so that's a good point. I was going to bring one out from Noah's Ark. There's 3 levels in Noah's Ark, right? The
Right.
third, celestial, second, telestial, and the lower, telestial. And then there's the ocean, the deep sea, Sons of Perditions. But anyways.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, even as the glory of the stars differs from that of the glory of the moon and the firmament, these are they who have received not of the gospel of Christ, neither the testimony of Jesus. These are they who deny not the Holy Spirit. These are they who are thrust down to hell. These are they who shall not be redeemed from the devil until the last resurrection, until Yahweh Mashiach, the Lamb, shall have finished his work.
So this goes like with the parable of the sower, where let's just go. I think that one's my favorite. We'll just look at part of it. It's the 2s, but he that receiveth the seed in a stony place, the same as he that heareth the word, and readily with joy receive it, yet he hath no root in himself, but it endureth but for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, aka he's not enduring, by and by, soon he is offended, right? He kind of gives up pretty easily. When the times get hard, he gives up. Okay.
When the going gets tough, he gets going.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll read the law of the sons of perditions. Okay. Last of all, these are they who will not be gathered with the saints, aka no glory, not in the kingdom, to be gathered up unto the church of the firstborn. So they're not being gathered with the church of the firstborn, and receive into the cloud, meaning they're not going up there, right?
Mhm.
These are they who are liars, breaking the 9th commandment of the 10, which is connected to the 4th, as we looked a little bit over earlier, right, when we were at the beginning, and are sorcerers. That's breaking the 3rd, connected to the 8th, and adulterers, which is the 7th commandment connected to the 2nd, and whoredoms, which
Whoremongers, yep.
I would say is connected to the 10th, because whoredoms is more, they're coveting, and it's a lot more.
Oh, yeah, whoremongers are people who seek after whores.
Right. Those are covenanters, which the
Covetous.
10th
That's covetous.
is related to the 5th, and whosoever loves and maketh a lie. That's the 9th commandment. So I do want to bring out that loving and making a lie is different than being deceived, like happens with those who are in the terrestrial. Being deceived will keep you from the celestial, but it won't necessarily make you go down to Sons of Perdition. Okay, depending on what you're doing, because your actions will do that.
It's those who dug the pit for you.
Yeah.
Those are the Sons of Perdition.
But there are things that if you start doing because you got deceived, it will send you down there too. But anyways,
Yeah.
That's another subject. But I do find it interesting. These cover 8 out of the 10 commandments, and the 2 that are not covered is Yahweh is your God, or Elohim, right? They cannot deny that now at all. Period. No way. And the other one that is connected to that is they can't murder, because these are resurrected men. You can't murder someone that's been resurrected, because once resurrection happens, our spirit and our physical body can never separate. So thus murder can never happen. So basically, every commandment that they can break now, they want to break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those other 2 out of the 10, they actually cannot break.
Not in the presence of God.
Yeah. Well, they know Elohim is Yahweh, or Yahweh is Elohim. That's a better way of saying it. But anyways,
yeah,
because Elohim means judge. Okay, there's no denying of that. No, these are they who suffer the wrath of Elohim on earth. These are they who suffer the vengeance of eternal fire. Eternal. I don't want that. These are they who are cast down to hell to suffer the wrath of Almighty Elohim until the fullness of times, when the Messiah shall have subdued all enemies under his feet and shall have perfected his work. So these guys don't get resurrected until the very end, right? That is the law of the Sons of Perditions. Now, if there is anything about a higher law and a lower law, it's these. And it all has to do with your broken heart and contrite spirit to keep the one law, Torah.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait, that kind of goes along the idea of there's saved only 2 churches only, right? The Church of Christ, the Church of the Messiah versus the
that
Church of
can't
the
be right.
Devil.
That can't be right. There's at least 5,000 churches in the dictionary.
Yeah, but the problem is those 5,000s are denominations of that one of Satan's.
Yeah.
That's the thing that they leave out in the dictionary. Anyways.
Well, that's possibly because the dictionary is also written by, I don't know, Satan.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was written by man. The dictionary is not perfect, but it is a pretty good tool. I do like the 1828 dictionary, but it's not perfect, right? That's for sure. Anyways,
but it can give you a better understanding for how the minds of men work.
Yeah, yes, and the one thing is, if you think you can change the meaning of a word just because you want it to fit your theology, you have a problem, right? Because God speaks to us to our understanding, aka Yeshua doesn't change the meaning of words. He's using the meaning of the words, aka our understanding, right? So I'm going to pause for a minute.
Okay.
So we just kind of started talking about mighty and strong one stuff a little bit. And I want to share something, but I just because it's here, I'll just bring this up. So a lot of people in the Hebrew roots love to bring up Jeremiah 31. Okay. This actually, if you go look at verse 34, it deals with the second coming. It doesn't have to do with the times of the Gentiles. Okay. And they shall teach no more man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know Yahweh, for that all shall know Yahweh, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity and will remember their sins no more. And in
And
addition,
that's only for those who make it to the second coming.
yeah, this is connected to the second coming. Where I know a lot of Hebrew rooters try to tie it to the times of the Gentiles because they're trying to find a way that Torah is valid right now, which I do believe it is. But if you go look at the context, this is talking about second coming stuff. Okay, I do believe Torah is valid. It's just they're taking a verse out of context. But anyways, that's not the one I actually wanted to share. This one. So here's something I got on the Mighty and Strong one this week. Okay, so here's this interesting revelation. You want to read it, Matt?
Oh,
D&C 43, 2 through 4.
For behold, verily, verily, I say unto you that ye have received a commandment for a law unto my church, through him whom I have appointed unto you to receive commandments and revelations from my hand. And this shall ye know assuredly, that there is none other appointed unto you to receive commandments and revelations until he be taken, if he abide in me. But verily, verily, I say unto you that none else shall be appointed unto this gift, except it be through him. For if it be taken from him, he shall not have power except to appoint another in his stead.
So the main thing I get out of this is that the Elijah, the modern day Elijah, Joseph Smith, is going to have a part in appointed the Elisha. Okay. Which is the mighty and strong one.
I can see that.
Yeah. So let's go read the other D and C. Matt, you want to do this one too?
Yes. For I have given unto him the keys of the mysteries and the revelations which are sealed until I, Yahweh, shall appoint unto them another in his stead.
So both of these revelations from Yahweh is pointing to the fact that Joseph Smith is going to have a part into appointing the mighty and strong one. Okay, which also is another proof that Joseph Smith is not the mighty and strong one like some people claim. Okay,
But
now,
it is also potentially a proof for the ordinations recorded on the while in Pennsylvania, such as the ordination to the Aaronic priesthood, which
that we brought out in a recording that Joseph
because
Smith is that Elijah.
because a resurrected being was able to restore that priesthood, that calling, by the laying on of hands to Joseph Smith.
Right. And the one who did that, John the Baptist, is an Elisha, not an Elijah. There is a difference. Okay.
Yes.
So now let's go see this with the Elijah and Elisha pattern.
Okay.
In the actual history. Will you read that one again?
Okay. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from me, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he had smoten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophets which were to view at Jericho saw him. They said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they met and came to meet with him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. Sons of the prophets, school of the prophets.
Yeah, yeah. This is School of the Prophets. So there's a lot in here, right? But from what was going on in those 2D and C sections, that the Elijah, Joseph Smith, and Yahweh both had a part in appointing the Elisha, the mighty and strong one. That's also happening in here in 2 Kings 2.
Yeah,
Same thing.
when he's saying my father, he's talking about
Elohim.
yeah, the chariot of Israel.
And then another thing that's interesting, Elisha parted the waters, which I would say it points to the greater exodus that is coming.
Mhm.
But anyways,
That's some really cool stuff right there.
yeah, yeah.
It
Because
is.
I've always kind of wondered about those 2D and C ones, but this week while I was doing some studying, Yahweh gave it to me. It's a type of that one, 2 Kings. So some of these weird verses are bringing out that Joseph Smith is the Elijah, right?
Mhm.
So
He is the final Elijah.
yes, he is the final Elijah because the millennium is coming and there's no more after. Well, there's a little space after that, but then after that it's the end. But anyway.
Then after the millennium comes the battle of Gog and Magog. Then Satan gets destroyed, and
Yeah.
all the truly wicked people get stoned forever.
Yeah, it's not just temporary; it'll be forever. Because stoning is still valid, right? Anyways,
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is that all these people who are saying that stoning is such a wicked and abhorrent practice,
they're calling God wicked.
they're
because
saying that
God's
God
gonna-
is wicked and abhorrent because God stoned.
He has stoned, and he will stone at the second coming. So if they think it's wicked, do they think God's wicked?
They must.
I hope not. I hope they just haven't done their math that A equals B. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna.
Or the 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah, I think it's mostly they don't like the law and they want to come up with excuses and they don't want to get punished for sinning. I don't think they put much thought into it actually. And now I think some of those people are going to be they're living the law of the Telestial people, right? They love the Lord, but it didn't last very long. They
Right,
got no root.
Yeah, there's no root.
There's no root. Anyways, I'm gonna
And
pause.
which actually goes back to Jacob chapter 5. And what are the roots in Jacob chapter 5?
This is Torah.
It's Torah.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Yeah.
only way the way you have no root is to have no Torah.
Yeah. Yeah, the imagery is consistent when you know how to pull it out, right?
And guess what? If you don't have strong roots, you're going to be blown around by every wind of doctrine too.
Yeah, and I see that's the majority of everybody, actually. Sorry.
That's pretty much standard across the board anywhere you go.
Which is kind of sad, but go on Facebook, you can see it. Everybody's getting tossed and turned with every wind of doctrine because they don't know what's true and what's false. And they're picking false teachers, right?
Because they teach things that make them feel good.
Yeah. In fact, 2 Nephi 28, right? Don't worry about your sin. You'll just
Helaman 14.
yeah, that's another good one.
Samuel the Lamanite. It's really harsh on them. That one's really harsh on these people.
Yeah, and I think that's the one where or maybe it's not, but I think that's the one where he says, you like your prophets that you just give them money and they tell you all is well in Zion, basically, right?
Yep.
Give them the money and they tickle your ears.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of it's giving money. Part of it is just that the doctrine tickles the ears.
Yeah. So, and just talking about movies, growing up, I did like the BFG, Big Friendly Giant, but that's Gnostic. And guess what the BFG likes being done? He loves his ears to be tickled.
Hmm.
Anyways, there's a lot of key things that they bring out to show who he really is, but people just don't pay attention.
Hmm.
So
And the thing, just like they don't pay attention to the keys, which will actually help them to understand the Book of Mormon.
yeah, well, because a big key is keeping the law, so that way you can get inspired.
Yeah.
And that you know it's from him. Because if you're not keeping the law, you're not of him, and he's not going to inspire you. In fact, let's just see what we have about prayer and not keeping the law. Here. So look, it's even in the Book of Mormon, but we'll do Proverbs. Proverbs 8:9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing Torah, even his prayer shall be an abomination. Second Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn, I am adding away from their wicked ways, then I, Yahweh, will hear from heaven and will heal their land. So, I mean, that's the same thing as Proverbs, right?
Yeah.
It's just stated the opposite way. Was I
Oh, wait.
21:15?
Stephen,
Yeah.
you see the little correlation to land Sabbath there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
I will
Heal
heal their land.
land. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Thank you, Matt.
But that was a serious problem at that time in Israel, that they were not observing the land Sabbaths.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in fact, just as the sign Sabbath being the opposite of the mark, Jeremiah tells us the reason they were kicked off the land is because they were not keeping the land Sabbath, right?
Yep.
The Sabbath is a very big deal to Yahweh. Very big deal.
He who turns away his ear from hearing the Torah, even his prayer is an abomination.
Yeah.
And ye know that Elohim does not hear sinners. But if anyone fears Elohim and does his desire, he hears him.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful pairing of verses. A juxtaposition.
Yahweh takes his law seriously, right? To the point that if you're not even striving to keep it, he's not going to listen to you. So if you're having a problem of getting your prayers answered, start seeking to keep the law.
Yeah.
And trust me, you probably know what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, along those lines, some people will tell you just to give up your favorite sin. I'll tell you that's unscriptural.
Mm-hmm.
Give up all your sins, and then he'll start listening to you. Not just your favorite, but all of them. Okay.
Yep.
Now I do, and he and I. Well, not that, anyways. He knows it's not going to happen all at once, but he wants you to strive to have the heart to do it. And he understands if you falter along the way, as long as you keep striving to get better at it, right?
Right.
And not coming with excuses, right? Because it's coming with excuses to say, well, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's really diligently striving to do it.
It's the time of the classic excuse. It's the time of the Gentiles. We don't have to keep the law.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if that's your excuse at Judgment Day, Second Coming, you're gonna have some really bad surprise.
I'm sorry if I was listening to that excuse, I'd laugh in your face. But then I'm not God, so.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would try to get you to see the fault of that idea, but I do agree with Ben. That's very false. and you're getting it from false preachers that will drag you to hell.
Mhm.
So stop listening to them. Listen. I mean, even those who don't like the law, they like Proverbs and Psalms, right? And here's Psalms stating that those who are turning from Torah, their prayer is an abomination to Yahweh. So even these books that you like are telling you to go keep Torah. So anyways. All right, I'm gonna pause.